just to continue on the topic that we ended on, which was, public, people with disabilities running for public office, right? And so I was wondering, what plans do you have, either if you already have plans now or in the near future, to help get more people with disabilities elected into either local offices in local elections or into Congress in national elections?
Well, it's getting elected, but it's also getting them into the pipeline to be staff members as well. Because in many ways, I almost think that the staff members have more power than the elected officials, because they're there and they gain the experience and they can help really write the legislation. So for me, it's really all three. It's both about getting folks elected into local office and in federal office, but then also getting them into the pipeline for staff members. So part of that is I've always had a disability a fellow in my offices, and that is someone that come in and not necessarily work on just disability issues, but just to have someone with a disability work in my offices to help them gain the experience so that they can actually then look at either running for office one day or becoming a full-time staff member, and help them build their resume. I think that's really important. And then also working with the various disability communities. Whenever I hear of anybody who is has a disability and who's running or who's thinking about it, I am more than happy to mentor and work with the various organizations to help them find their way and introduce them to the right people. I think it's important for folks to think about running for office at all different levels, not just a federal level or a statewide level. I mean, you could run for your local library board of trustees, for example. And that is really an important position to be in, because see, the library board of trustees decides what books get banned in our public libraries. And it is something that the very conservative elements have been working very hard on winning these positions so that they can actually ban books and things like that. So don't turn your nose up at even what seems to be the lowest level of office that you can run for.
Yeah, exactly. So any kind of participation, any capacity is very important. And so I was wondering, you don't have to name names if you're uncomfortable, but do you know of any individuals with disabilities, either in your personal circle or professional circle, that you think would be good for public office positions?
I'm not going to name names, but look, there are so many people out there who are either themselves members of the disability community or are family members of the disability community. And I've talked to many of them and said, hey, you should run for office. And I'm helping some of the others, but they're all over the country. If anybody that's watching this podcast today is interested, definitely reach out to my offices and we'll help put you in touch with the right people should you decide to run.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's a great resource. So I really encourage people to take up on that offer. So next we're going to jump to employment, which I know you know is a huge issue in the disability world, where around 70% of people with disabilities are unemployed. And so I was wondering, have you hired people with disabilities in your state or DC offices? If not, what ideas do you have to, get more people with disabilities employed, either on a more personal circle sphere, as we were talking about in your offices, or on a nationwide, kind of influence impact level?
Well, I have multiple staff members with disabilities in my offices, so we're very welcoming, and we actually are very proactive about making sure that everything in our offices are fully not just ADA compliant, but very accessible beyond just being ADA compliant, right? Because ADA compliance is really sort of, for me, the bottom rung of where you should be, and you should be above that. And so what we do need to do is encourage people with disabilities, as they're out there job hunting. One of the things I talk to employers about is that even though people with disabilities have a much higher unemployment number, when they are employed, they are much more loyal employees. You have far less turnover when you hire someone with a disability. They actually stick with you for longer periods of time, and in fact, have much longer longevity and very high productivity when they are employed. And so they actually make very, very good employees because they're going to be loyal to you. They're going to be very productive. And you're going to have them for a much longer time than you would someone else who tend to, turn over jobs much more quickly. And so that I think is something we should actually be sort of promoting. It's not just about, oh, do your part and help hire someone with a disability. It's not about being charitable. It's actually about being good for your business to hire someone with a disability, because they bring benefits with them in terms of their productivity, and in terms of their loyalty, and in terms of their longevity. And so we need to sell people with disabilities as employees, not as for lack of a better word, charitable cases, but more as like, hey, you want that person. That person is going to contribute much more than somebody else, because they're going to be much more loyal to you. And we need to sell that aspects of people with disabilities.
Exactly. That really needs to be emphasized more. So what I often hear from, federal employers and private companies too, big companies who say they cannot find people with disabilities with the right talents and skills that they're looking for. So that's why they're not able to hire more people with disabilities. So what do you say to that?
I don't think they're looking in the right places, and I don't think they're advertising in the right way. And I think many people, many employers actually inadvertently send out a message of not being welcome to people with disabilities, so that they don't get the applicants. And if they, there's so many organizations that if you were hiring, that you can appeal to, and send those job notices to those organizations. You can actually, you can start internship programs within your own businesses to grow your own future employees, and you can recruit from, universities, and all sorts of other programs to get interns into your offices that are disability interns, so that then they can grow and go on to a full-time position with the company. So I say that they're just not asking or looking in the right places, and that if they were to make the overture to disability organizations, and then also university, especially that have major disability programs. In Illinois, Southern Illinois University has a significant program for students with disabilities. They would actually get the employees that they're looking for.
Exactly. So I know you have to go. 10 seconds. What are your thoughts on running for president someday? I think that would be amazing.
That is not a fire I have in my belly. I've got a pretty good job. And when you're president for what, 4 years, maybe 8 years, but I could be a senator for a long time and really have a long body of work that I could work on. So it's not something that I've ever thought about doing. I have my dream job, my two dream jobs right now, which are mom first and senator second.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And speaking of mom, I wrote a children's book. It's a person in a wheelchair and talking about different things that we do, and also the theme of public office. So I know you're
Uh-huh.
homeschooling your children, so that might be something you're interested in. Anyways, it's been such a pleasure, Senator Duckworth. I know you're a super busy person, and I will let you go because you are busy, busy, busy. And we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Be well.
Thank you. Did you like this video? If so, share with your friends and be sure to follow us on social media. And if you want even more resources, be sure to sign up for our email updates on our website, trapesandglobal.com. Keep learning new perspectives, keep being inclusive, because it will make the world a better place for you and for everyone else. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you on another episode of the Trapes and Global on Wheels podcast hour.